Yo, 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 what's up, all you burner stoners and potheads, and especially all you gardeners out there? This is Mr. Weedman and Big Earl with the Weedman 420 Chronicles, the Grow Hour. Big Earl, my brother, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing awesome, dude. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm super stoked, and I bet you know why.
I can guess, I think. But tell us, please.
2 reasons on this show. 2 reasons. You ready? 1, I get to smoke with you, and I get to smoke with our new friend, Alebrije. And 2, you stopped by the crib last night, and you dropped off some phenomenal fucking strains, baby. Let me tell you, I was fucking so stony baloney last night, man. I tell you what, that harpy, that's the first one we smoked, right? Smoked that harpy. Dude, I was completely stony. Mrs. Weedman rolled a joint, and she just started learning how to roll a joint. And she rolled a fantastic J last night with that harpy. We smoked that, and then my sister-in-law stopped by, and we were stony baloney. Then some of my buddies stopped by, and we did a smoke sesh, and I threw a fucking GG4 fucking monster doink, dude. Monster doink. And it was stuffed to the hilt and on the Split Society fucking wraps. And I tell you what, dude, we were all like, what? Dude, kudos, man. Kudos on that fucking GG4 and the harpy. I haven't smoked the other 4 strains yet. I will. But tonight, for this smoke sesh, though, I'm smoking GG4.
Yeah.
So, but before we get started, Alebrije, say hello.
Yo, yo, what's up, guys? Happy to be here.
Alebrije in the house. I love it. So, Big Earl, I'm going to hit this first. So while I smoke this bowl out of this 8-decade steamroller, please tell me a little bit about GG4, because it is ma.
Yeah, so I can't take too much credit for anything. I just try not to fuck up too much. It's really all in the genetics, you know. The GG4, it's not mine, of course. Long known, everybody loves her. Came from a herm that's pretty well known too. Pretty unmatched terps, I think. Also super vigorous, super easy to grow. I've loved that plant for a long time, and recently got rid of it and like immediately regretted it. And that harpy was Hummingbird Hills. Just a fat, easy plant to grow. So nice.
The high on that harpy, man. Okay, so let me explain. So you and I talked before you left out. You're like, I wasn't really happy with the nose and the taste. It has a very nice nose and good taste, but the high, and I'm about the high too, because I have everybody knows this. I have shitty ass taste buds. The nose was fine, but the high, my brother, dude, let me tell you something, man. The stony baloniness of that fucking high was perfect. Yeah. It was like you were able to think clearly and talk, but you felt it in the head. But your body was just fucking womp. You were just like chilling like a villain, man. It was fucking fire.
Yeah, like.
What are you smoking on, Earl?
I'm smoking on. What did I light first? Oh, the London Pound Cake. I rolled up. I just. Weed's awesome because a lot of the work you do when you work with good people can come back to you. And I had a friend who was looking for London Pound Cake. I happened to have a pack. I threw it to him. He hunted out a pheno and then he gave it back to me, and it is fire.
I'm excited about smoking that next time I see you.
Yeah, this is only the second joint I've had of it, and yeah, it's really, really nice. It's very.
You just pulled that too, didn't you? You told me.
Yeah, like 3 weeks ago. It's really fresh. No cure on it, so we'll see how it cures.
Nice. And Alebrije, what are you puffing on that Puffco Proxy in there? So I know you're smoking some hashish.
You know it. I'm smoking on some purple Zorroso. It was my blue Zorroso crossed with purple nuggets. It's got a nice like kind of citrusy berry diesel funk profile going on, and it was just flower rosin, 90 micron. I pressed it myself and ripping it in the Proxy.
Oh, man. I can smell it from fucking Chicago where I'm at, man.
Nice.
I love good hash. I don't smoke a lot of dabs. I don't do a lot of, wax or shatter. But you offer me some hash, I'm in. Give me that. I'm old school, man. I smoked a lot of hash back in the 90s. I love a good hash, so the hash nowadays is way different from the hash I used to get from Jamaica back in the day. But the hash nowadays, it's all about that flavor. All about the flavor, man. The smell and the nose that you can get off of this hash that you all are making nowadays is so good. So fucking good. So,
totally.
Well, now we're all getting baked. Let's ask, who the fuck is Alebrije? How the fuck did you get this fucking name? I had to practice it in my head about 35 fucking times to get this name right, and then you helped me out one more time before we started the show. So tell us, give me your history, man. Give me who you are, how you got the name, what do you do, how did you start growing? You're into some other shit too. I'm super stoked about hearing too. Dogs, pottery, fucking coffee, art, dude. Let's just fucking get to know you. So one day when I come out and meet you personally, I get to fucking smoke some fucking hash with you. So let's get to know each other. Tell me about yourself.
Yeah. I go by Alebrije Genetics. We do feminized autoflowers. The name Alebrije, I'll just start there. The name Alebrije refers to these Mexican art creatures that are basically hybridized animals with different body parts from different animals, and they're these intricately painted things with different designs and bright colors, and it's just sort of representative of Mexico. And we kind of look at our genetics as unique combinations that we put a lot of time and effort and look into the tiny details as these things are created. And so that was the inspiration for the name. My wife, who's my partner in Alebrije Genetics, is from Mexico, and we wanted to create a brand that was a little more, open to that demographic. And Mexico legalized cannabis, or at least decriminalized. They're sort of still working out the laws at the moment.
Yeah, they are.
But we saw it as a good market to kind of start making stuff that was in line with their history and some of their cultural icons. But to go back further, long before Alebrije ever came about, as just a teen in high school, 17 years old, more or less, I started smoking weed, fell in love with the plant. I'm very passionate about it. At 18, I became a daily user. I'm in my mid-30s, and I've been a daily user ever since. I started growing actually also in high school. About a year after I found some bag seed and went, why not? I went out in this swamp and I planted a few seeds. I got to maybe 6 inches tall before some torrential rains came. And I ran out there after school and I tried to rescue 2 of the plants. I went immediately to the hydro store. I bought the worst. It was like the worst quality light. It's I don't even know what you call them anymore. It's not even the metal highlights or anything like that. It's just fluorescent lighting, basically. And like a 1 bucket hydro setup, and I built a little cabinet in my room and started growing a plant. I told my parents it was a blueberry plant, and at the time I didn't know anything about it, and I didn't have any good resources, and I don't think I ever made it into flowering before it was stinking. My mom thought it smelled like a skunk, and I think I had to ditch it. But ever since, on and off, I've been growing, and I was a chef, and I worked all over the world in Australia and Singapore and England, Spain, Mexico, and wherever I had the chance in an apartment, I was trying to grow here or there. But it wasn't really until I bought a house. Yeah, sorry.
So before you go on, so we'll stop with the house. But I have to. You're a chef. Sorry to interrupt, but yep. I don't want to miss this. You were a chef, and you it seems like you chefed all around the world.
I did.
What was your favorite food? What was your favorite food in the one country you got to be a chef in? What was the one like you really like? Wow, this country I can stay in and chef. I'm sorry to interrupt it, and I promised myself I wasn't going to interrupt you, but that. I have to know the truth.
That's a great question, and one dish comes to mind. It was I was working in the Basque Country of Spain at this restaurant, Azurmendi. That's actually where I met my wife. She was a pastry chef, and I was working on the meat station right across from her. But on our weekends, we would travel, we'd hop on the bus, and about 30 minutes away was San Sebastian, which is a legendary food city in the Basque Country of Spain. And this one little tapas bar had this, it was braised pig trotters, but then it was wrapped in the local jamon iberico, which is like the best, most tasty ham in the world. And then it had a little piece of seared foie gras, stuffed duck liver, basically. And it had like a little glaze of the sauce of the reduced trotter jus, basically, and some vinegar or something. And it was just like the most heavenly bite of fat and lusciousness and everything, just so sinful but so delicious, of pork and dog fat.
It's have you ever tried to replicate that?
I haven't. I don't think I do it justice. And all the ingredients are, very local to the area. And, I worked in Spain for just 6 months and came back to the States. So the jamon here isn't the same, and the foie gras is ridiculously expensive. So no, I haven't. But
gotcha.
One day I'll be back.
I love it. All right, so back to the house. Sorry, back to the house. You were growing.
So we
apartments all along.
Yeah, finally came back stateside, got a house, and that was like the first time I felt like comfortable actually buying some tents and some lights and making a proper setup and like actually learning to grow. So it's really just within the past 5 years that I dove in. Done some photo periods, started there, but I quickly got into autos, and I actually had so much more success with the autos right off the bat. And I was fortunate. I know a lot of people end up getting some sort of white label genetics out there that may not be the best quality to start with, but I was fortunate to get some from Mephisto Genetics, a company that was actually out of Spain at the time. I think now they're most strictly based out of California. But they had great autoflowering genetics, and I was fortunate to just like hop on their site one day and buy a few packs, and then all of a sudden it became like this huge thing overnight, and their packs are selling out and you can never find them. And since then, and more recent, the last year or two, I think they're pretty available. But anyway, they were my first autoflowers. I had a great time with it and really successful grows, big yields, super frosty, best quality flower I'd had in a really long time. And so I used one of the ones I had bought, the Skywalker, and I actually got a photo cutting of Stardog from a friend, and wasn't able to keep a mother where I am. And so I decided to kind of work it into an auto project because I had so much fun with them. And I actually started by reversing the Skywalker and hit the Stardog with the Femme pollen. And from there, that was the F1 generation, which I had to end up working into 3 more, and then eventually a 4th generation that I finally released as the Sour Perezoso. Is my kind of, it's not supposed to be a dog walker replicate or anything. It's its own thing, but it definitely brought a lot of the chem terps and a lot of the funk from the Stardog, but with some nice citrusy zip from the Skywalker IG. So
man,
yeah,
sounds fucking fantastic.
What'd you call that one again?
That's called the Dog Walker. So the Star Dog and the Skywalker. I call it the Dog Walker with a W. And it was never actually just released as the Dog Walker. It was really a project I made to be like a breeding parent. And in fact, like it honestly works so much better as a breeding parent, and it like leaves its good traits in all its crosses. It's better than most of the crosses are better than the Dog Walker itself, honestly.
Yeah. Nice.
So It's a great breeder, great plant in general, but works really great as a breeder. And that was sort of my intention. And I've done most of my crosses that I've released so far have used the dog walker. Not all, maybe half. But
That's so you have other things you do. Now I know you're a chef. I love it. But I was on your Instagram, but I was like, Alebrije coffee. What the fuck is this? I thought it was Alebrije Genetics. I found that. And then you do pottery. Is that one of your mugs that you made in your hand?
That's so it's actually my wife. As I mentioned earlier, she's half of the business. She brings in the pottery half. I'm the one behind the coffee. And we both work on the plants and the brands together. But the pottery was a way she got into it around the same time I got into breeding, and she's as passionate about it as I am about breeding and growing. And so we kind of wanted to hybridize the two into our single brand. She helps me find artists for our individual strains, and she helps me come up with the names for our creatures, and she's a big part of our taste testing, and a lot of my projects are geared towards her taste as much as my own. She's a big broadleaf sedative type fan. She uses cannabis a lot for sleep. I tend to enjoy it through the day, and so I breed a lot of more narrow leaf uplifting strains for myself. But I like both. I use it for sleep as well. So yeah, she brings the pottery into this thing. So she does our logos and mugs, and eventually, with our first strain, the Tangy Tibaguana, she released a little pottery plant marker that it was the colors of the strain. And
nice touch. A little experience involved. Beautiful marketing experience. I love it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, thank you. And it's our plan to return to that eventually. Right now, she's doing all her pottery at a studio, but we would like to eventually stamp the strain name into the little plant marker that's going to come in each pack. But at the moment, we didn't want everybody to see the name and Google what it was, and very quickly you can find exactly what's going on. But eventually, in the next year or so, we hope to get our own kiln, so she can just be firing this pottery at home and making the plant markers, making our logoed mugs, ashtrays.
I love it.
Just bringing some art and stuff to our brand. Art is a big part of our passion, and we like to infuse it into the brand wherever possible. Each strain, we reach out to a different artist to design a creature to sort of be the embodiment of that strain through both the flavors and the effects of it. For example, we were talking about the blue Zorroso is a fox bear, and it's all about earthy and berry strains, and it's quite sedative, so it kind of brings about thoughts of the woods and hibernation and things like that.
I love it because you're using art to get people to understand what your strains are all about. And some people are visual. And if you do that visual effect, some people will understand it more. Like, I'm a visual learner, so that would help me. Sometimes just reading what the strains are you're not putting anything in there for me. You're just telling me it could be this strain, X, this strain, and poof, you got the seeds. Well, okay. Well, you grew this. I want to know the effects if I grow this strain from you. Visually, though, dude, that's fucking... And I love that you do it together as a husband. I'm all about husband and wife businesses. I'm a mom and pop guy. I have been my whole life. Fuck corporations. Yeah. I'll say that to the day I die. And I'm proud of you and your wife for starting a business together, because it's not always easy. Mrs. Weedman and I have our own business. I know it's not easy. But proud of you for visually putting that in people's heads so they understand what that strain can be for them. And through art. Phenomenal, dude. I love it, Alebrije. It's kudos to your wife too. I'd love to meet her one day. Mrs. Weedman actually would probably love to meet her too, because she loves ceramics and she loves pottery and she collects and she wants to do killing one day. And so that'll be another subject topic. But dude, it's fucking amazing, man.
Thank you.
Fucking awesome.
I mean, we only release 1 or 2 strains per drop, and we only do 4 drops a year. So not a lot, and we like to grow out testers and send friends testers and things, and we like to know what you're getting, and we like to talk about it for a long time. If you follow us on Instagram, for months before the release, we're talking about the specific strains that are going to be released, and we're telling you all the details about what to expect. You'll see the artwork come out. With the artwork, I write a little story that through the words is basically describing the strain and its flavors and what this creature is eating and doing, essentially.
The packs become collectible items like baseball cards.
Yeah, each pack is like hand stamped, numbered 1 out of 100, 2 out of 100, whatever. Sometimes like we have a release coming with Hummingbird in August, our first collab with him, or at least, no, not our first collab with him, our second collab with him from my end, but there's only going to be like, I think 50 or 60 packs. So yeah, sometimes they've been selling out kind of fast.
We love Hummingbird. He's a South Side of Chicago. We love Hummingbird. He's a South Side Chicago guy, man. That's fucking awesome. The two of you are doing a fucking collab together. We love him. He used to grow in the Dan Ryan Woods. Go Hummingbirds, man. You the man.
Hell yeah. Shout out to Hummingbird. You guys were talking about Harpy and Ursula Berry. Those were actually some of the first auto regs I ever bought was from him. And that's how we connected. He actually announced that the Ursula Berry was going to be sold out, and I was like, oh, glad I already got a pack. He was like, what? Yeah. You bought a pack? And I was like, you know it, man. And then we've been chatting ever since.
Mrs. Weedman loves Ursula. We just finished the last nug of both of the BX Earl. We just finished the last nug of that one, and we finished the last nug of the other one you bought. Those fucking strains are phenomenal, dude. Mrs. Weedman couldn't stop smoking that like every night. The high was magnificent. The buds were so purpley, nurpley, and just full and just vibrant. Oh my god, amazing. Anyway, pottery. So pottery. What about dog rescue? So you do dog rescue?
Yeah, so again, I mentioned my wife is from Mexico. This was another way we've always talked about doing this. Mexico has a really bad problem with street dogs, and we go down there to visit her family once every year, and we see it every time, and it's horrible, and we just feel helpless. There's dogs everywhere. They look starving. Some places are worse than others. We tend to travel around. We'll go see her family, and then we'll travel a couple other different places each trip, but so anyway, 15% of our profits from our sales, we created this little fund called Save the Paros. And when we go down there, we buy dog food and water and bowls and things. And we just feed as many of the street dogs as we find. And we also, it would be easier if we lived down there, but it's hard to make things happen on a short trip. But we did facilitate one adoption last year to a family that we knew and trusted. So that's part of our goal long term. And, you know, we actually can't spend all the money each time. A bag of dog food goes a long way when we're just, you know, seeing a dog in the street and giving it, you know, a couple bowls of food, you know. So we're saving up for one day. We would kind of like to build a facility, you know, a small shelter, and facilitate adoptions. This is awesome, in Pachuca, Hidalgo, where most of my wife's family lives.
That's fucking awesome, man. Good for you. That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, we have a rescue dog, and we love him so much, and you know, he's a big inspiration for that. He just wants us to see more dogs rescued down there.
Love it. It's awesome. Do you find people support you, like the person in those areas, or did you find your own niche within the industry? You know, did you find people like support you for you and what you do?
Definitely. I mean, the dogs we just mentioned was actually a big, you know, we'd meet a lot of animal lovers who like to support us for that reason. But we've been growing autos. We were sort of some of the early adopters to this new wave of Autoflowers, and I've been growing autos for, you know, 4 or 5 years now, and I've made so many friends in this community through Instagram, through Discord, Reddit a little bit, but it is a niche. There is this real community that's built, and you get to know everyone really well, and I'll be talking with the same person on 3 different platforms, and we'll also have their personal number. And these are just random people I met online, but we've developed real, true friendships. And, I see a lot of repeat customers from drop to drop. And I won't even call them customers. Most of those people are honestly friends. So yeah, we do see this niche Autoflower community that's formed, and yeah, we get a ton of support from them, and we thank you guys. Shout out to all you guys. You know who you are.
I love it. I love it because you're building a community of friends, and to me, what it sounds like, you're using social media the right way. I have a lot of issues with social media, but I use it. I have to, but you use it the right way. You use it for friendships and the way it's supposed to be used, and marketing and stuff like that. But you're using it and you're building communities across the country who are supporting your business, but then you become friends with them. Like you said, they're not customers, they're friends. And I love it. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah,
Big Earl?
That was
Big Earl? No, Big Earl. That's how I met you, brother.
Yeah.
That's how we became friends. Community, man. And that's how where we're at today. 4 years ago, 5 years ago we met. So go ahead, brother. Sorry.
From a weed picture on a friend's watch.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, kind of. But yeah, with all the other I don't know, you call them side hustles, passions, parts of life. It's in seeds too. Like you can see the art there. Not so much that like you see like how a cup is formed or a paintbrush stroke or anything, but you can like recognize the passion and the work in seeds and in anything really in life, So you started growing autos 4 or 5 years ago, right? And that's really, I don't think much before that people were very geeked on autos, which we've talked about a little bit. I think a lot lately they've definitely come around. Is that when you were like, okay, I'm going to make these, or did that come a little later?
It was really just it was out of my success. I kind of wanted to preserve. It started wanting to preserve that Star Dog, and I had a great success with that Skywalker. So that was really where it started, and then I kind of learned more about breeding and the methodology, essentially, to carry on the auto trait. A lot thanks to Marijuana Botany, the book by Robert Clark, and also some podcasts as well. And it was such a fun project that by the time I did it and made it, I had tons of seeds and quickly realized this is something I probably wanted to form into a business. It also was, a good way to offset some of the costs, because the way I do autos, I essentially have to sacrifice a whole tent to seed. And so, I was started growing just actually for my own flower and my own head stash purposes. But eventually this seed addiction came around, and I loved buying seeds and I wanted to create new ones. And yeah, it just became a passion. And once I started, I couldn't stop. And, I thought it would slow down my seed buying, but it has actually had the opposite effect, where now I buy more seeds and I justify it by, oh, well, I'm going to do a project with that. So it's, it's a business expense, so I get on a lot of drops for that reason. And I like to collect interesting seeds.
Yeah, for sure. It's almost hard to find interesting seeds anymore, but it's fantastic, dude. Seeds in general. So your wife does all the pottery for the Alebrije. I'm sorry, were you Alebrije? I'm sorry, dude.
Yep. No, you're all good.
Mrs. Weedman made some edibles that have me zooted. Alebrije. So did she start that, in high school too? How was it watching that art progress into your other arts? I bet that's super fun.
Yeah, no, that was pretty recent. We've been together 10 years now, married for 9 of them. And that was just about 2 or 3 years ago, shortly after I had started like growing and breeding. When I say shortly, a couple of years, in the grand scheme of things, it seems short, but yeah, time flies. She's only been doing it for a few years now, but it's grown quickly. She's gotten really talented. In fact, we were talking about the Puffco Proxy earlier. It's so cool because they make the module so it can fit in different glass pieces, and they wanted to encourage, glass makers to be a part of the Proxy and, design cool pieces for it, like the old Hetty days. And so I want to get her to start making some pottery pieces for it. She needs to, make a mold so she can get a fitting, but then she can start making some cool, like, ceramic Sherlocks and bubblers and things. And I want to use them, but I think she'd be able to sell them too.
Has she ever made like a little pipe or anything?
Yeah, she's made some just like little one-hitter type things, but not much beyond that.
Yeah. When she makes bongs, I'm buying one.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Just let me know. I'll buy one.
Yeah,
and I'll do bong rips on the show with that bad boy right there.
There you go.
Fucking clouds.
Love it.
How much does your activity in the community play a role in you being able to do what you do?
I mean, I wouldn't continue doing, the breeding and the drops and whatnot if we hadn't received such support from the community. Honestly, our first drop, we released 100 packs. It was the Tangy Tibaguana, and it was our kind of Durban meets Amnesia haze, and it sold out in like less than 48 hours. And as a brand newbie breeder with so many other great seeds out there, I was humbled and very grateful for the community, and it got me excited to do the second drop. And then that one sold out, and then the third drop sold out in like an hour, the Blue Zorroso, or a couple hours maybe. And then they've been just going ever since. And so it really is the community and the support that fuels me to do it. And the coffee is another thing, sort of on that same note. It's just become a passion of mine. I quit drinking alcohol. I was a distiller and a beverage developer in addition to a chef for a while. And I quit drinking alcohol, and coffee kind of became my beverage of choice. And then I sort of dove down the rabbit hole of all the different beans and roasting my own and, pour overs, espresso, etc. And I just decided to, I haven't released anything yet, but down the line, the community's been so supportive that, I'd like to share this other passion with them. And once I kind of roast something I'm super amped about, I'm going to, order a bunch of beans of it and do a bigger drop. But to this point, it's just been a lot of trial and error and learning. But one day, it's something to be coming.
Yeah, I like it. You're a passionate guy. You got a lot of different projects.
And that's awesome. That's even like an art, right? If I'm remembering, on your page, it's like it's awesome. You can see the passion and everything there.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
But
love it.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you make seeds besides feminized autoflowers? I mean, is this all you're into now? Are you doing regs or anything like that, or just straight autos?
So I do some regs. In fact, our first reg drop is coming up on August 1st. And it's actually part of this other, it's a little bit of a charity project. We're sort of facilitating through Last Prisoner Project. And it's our,
nice.
We're doing a drug war veteran bundle. We have these t-shirts, these drug war veteran t-shirts we've designed, and it's coming with these Nancy Ray Gun is the name of the strain. It's our first reg release, and it's sort of a standing up to the Just Say No campaign, and we're saying just say grow. And the reason we finally decided to release some regs is people have told us they get excited sometimes at the opportunity to make their own seeds. And this is a strain. It's Nancy Reagan is True Mac crossed with my dog walker I was talking about earlier. And then that's crossed to another called Purple Microdot, which was
My favorite kind of LSD.
Yeah.
That or a good white blotter. You can't get that shit no more around here. But damn, right? Man, before you talking my language with purple microdot, I sold a lot. Oh, whoops. I mean, I ate a lot of that too. Sorry.
Well, yeah, it brings some of those effects. It's a pretty stony high, this one. But it had some great breeding traits. It's got these thick, leathery leaves. It's super frosty. It's got this kind of rank, fruity, green pepper, sort of interesting terp profile going on. And I wanted to release some regs of it because I think it's like the dog walker. I think it's a breeder where I want to see people hit it to some of the other hot autos out there and make some really nice crosses of their own. So that's coming out August 1st. So I do a handful of reg seeds. I ran a couple of landrace projects this past year. I did an Egyptian from the Sinai Peninsula, and it was semi-autoflowering, and I hit a bunch of my favorite autoflowers with it. And then I also did one from the Sudan, which was also semi-autoflowering, and I hit a handful of my favorite sativa leaning or narrow leaf leaning autos. And so those are projects to be worked a further few more generations before they'll be ready for release. But I did have some regular pollen flying around this past year.
You pollen chucker, you. I love it. Hey, so real quick, so those sativas you're growing, how long? So since are they auto, you said, or they're auto regs, or they're?
Some of my more narrow leaf sativa leaning have been in the like 75 to 95 day range.
I was going to ask you. You took the fight. You felt my brain going into yours right there, because I was going to ask you how long, since it's a sativa plant, how long does that take since it's an auto? I didn't think it was going to be 75 days, but I thought it was going to be like 100.
I mean, there's some, and sometimes it's personal preference on when people harvest. I've noticed, some people like a little more amber, and some people like a little more just full cloudy in their trichome heads. But I don't usually run mine past 90 days, honestly. I have very few autos that I let go past 90 days.
That's still pretty good for a fucking sativa, man, when you don't have to wait 16 weeks. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty good. I have to get some fucking sativa. Mrs. Weedman asked me for a couple sativa to grow in the future, so I'll fucking have to look that up, because that's fucking amazing. But I want to say, though, that's fucking awesome. I saw the artwork for the fucking Nancy Reagan thing. That was fucking, I loved it every second. I grew up in the 80s. I fucking remember the whole thing, Just Say No and all that bullshit. And I remember Nancy Reagan getting on stage. Classic, brother. Classic. I'm 50, so I remember that whole entire fucking thing. And beautiful.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
Love
that.
it. And you didn't downplay Nancy Reagan's face and all that stuff, and you made it artful, colorful, beautiful, trippy, fucking dope as fuck. But you didn't disrespect her, so I love it. So but fucking well done.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Well done.
Shout out to Brack to the Future was the artist on that one. So he's helped me a lot with some cool graphic work.
So now I'm going to get to sit back and relax and smoke the rest of this GG4, because now it's really learning time. And Big Earl is going to take over, because I don't know shit about any of this. I saw some shit about STDs on here and fucking chlordipine and shit. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? This is a fucking Weed Grow Hour show. And I saw some shit about reversing. I thought we were playing Uno. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about here, man? So I'm going to let you, Big Earl and Alebrije, take this shit over, and I'm going to fucking smoke a fucking 8-decade steamroller. Have fun.
Cheers, man.
Do you use your regs to like progress your lineage, so you're not like femming on femming on femming, or will you take that a couple generations?
So that first dog walker project was a fem on a fem on a fem, and it was a pain in the butt, to be honest. And it taught me a lot, and there was a lot of failure along the way on timing of creating fems. So moving forward on doing a photo period conversion into an autoflower, I do plan to use regular seeds. Simply for the fact that it'll make my life a lot easier to just like pop a handful, pick a nice stud, and not have to worry about the timing. Whereas with a reversal, the timing is pretty crucial, and it's more important that you get pollen when you're gonna have the pistils from your mother plants in about week 3. So there's 2 options for creating a feminized pollen from a female plant. Colloidal silver is one, and I've actually never had success with it. I only tried one time, failed, and quickly learned about STS. Which
is, so it's not STDs that I read. It's STS. I'm going to learn about this one.
There you go. Yeah, STS. So STS is silver thiosulfate. It's created by, you make a mixture of sodium thiosulfate and distilled water, and then you mix some silver nitrate and make a different solution and some distilled water. You combine those 2 solutions, and then you got silver thiosulfate, or STS. And then you're going to want to dilute it. It's really strong. Google out there, those of you listening that are interested in this process, if you Google it, you'll quickly find some how-to methods. And you can holler at me on Instagram if you're not sure if you got the right one or not. But anyway, so you mix these 2 solutions, you dilute it with more distilled water. You're going to want to add a little bit of a surfactant so it actually sticks to the plant. I just used a couple drops of Dawn dish soap. That's all it needs. And then in a spray bottle, so for autos, this has been a learning process. A big part of the learning process is when to start spraying. I used to start spraying upon the first sight of the pistil, which works. It's fine, but you'll never get this full reversal. It's always like a half and half kind of female, male. You'll get some pollen to work with, but if you're trying to do a handful of projects with that pollen, you won't get that much. And it would have been better if I'd started earlier. So I've slowly gravitated back, and now I start around day 15 of the auto's life. So I count day 1 as when it shows its first cotyledons, the first 2 green leaves that appear. And that's day 1. So now I spray on around day 15, 16, just depending on how it's been looking. And then I spray. This is another thing you sort of have to figure out. And there's no right or wrong. Different methods work. But I tend to spray now like every 3rd day. And it's important you don't spray it under light. So I remove the plant from my tent. I put it in a bathtub, and I spray it down. I let it fully dry, and then I return it back to the tent. Otherwise, the STS will totally burn under the light, and your plant will die, and you'll freak out right away. I've made that mistake. Made a lot of mistakes, especially timing mistakes, where I had the mother of this last seed I was trying to preserve, and it was way ahead before I was getting viable pollen, and then I just missed the window and lost. Well, not lost. I got to smoke it, but it was the last seed. You know what I mean? So there's mistakes out there to be made. So anyway, you're spraying every 3rd day, maybe by around day 30, I've got, so 2 weeks-ish, 15 days into the spraying, I've got pretty full-on pollen sacs, but there still probably aren't like dumping pollen yet. It still might be another week to 2 weeks. Every strain is different. Everyone has different, tolerance to stress and things like this. Basically, what you want to do is you want to spray the stems and the stalks, because that's what's actually passing ethylene, a female hormone, to the various bud sites. And by spraying it with this heavy metal, the silver, you are inhibiting that pass of ethylene, and inhibiting it still has that, is it the X chromosome or the Y chromosome is the male? It's got the other chromosome in there, so by not getting the female hormone, it expresses as male, but all the pollen is reading that it's female. So
yeah.
once
So
you get yeah.
It's way easier to femifem then. How do you, when you're going after regular sex seeds, are you waiting sometimes to really see the sex? Might be a little too late to start spraying your spray or spraying the STS.
You really have no choice basically but to wait until the males typically show first, and you remove your males, and then as soon as you're sort of confident one, sometimes on those you just have to wait till you see the pistol. But you also, once you've removed all the secure males and you're pretty confident, you can go ahead. But I haven't done a lot of it, but it is to come in my work. I have several photo period plants I plan to transition into auto or convert into Autoflower these next coming years.
Oh yeah! Have you ever feminized a photo period?
I tried. That was actually the one with the colloidal silver that failed. It was a pineapple Pez from Grandiflora Genetics.
Ooh, that sounds lovely.
Yeah,
you got my attention quick on the pineapple Pez. I was like, whoa! I love pineapple lifesavers too. That's another flavor I like. So yeah, you had me hooked on that one. Ooh,
well, this is actually a question that comes up with spraying and STS and colloidal silver and all a lot is, hey, if I only spray one branch and if I'm careful to not hit the rest of it, can I still smoke the rest of the plant, or have I created poison inside the plant? And my answer personally is I've smoked the other parts of the plant, and I don't really worry that. I don't think it's a systemic infection of the colloidal silver, because when you isolate just a single branch, it's really only that branch that will give off pollen sacs. The rest of the plant will stay female.
Can I? Don't people spray colloidal silver in their mouth for health reasons? Like they do that under the tongue to spray?
They do. Yeah, very small parts per million. Yes, but yeah.
Right. I think my bro was doing that. My brother was doing that for a long time, and he'd always do one little pump. So I mean, people do take it in their body. I know some people do have reactions to it, but I've heard very few. Because they overdid it. So I mean, if people are taking it into their body in a small, minute amount, would it hurt them if they smoked it? That got a little bit on there. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. So,
yeah. Well, I would definitely not recommend smoking any part that has been sprayed. But if you were very careful to like cover up the other part, I'm not recommending anyone out there do it. But I personally think it's okay, and I have done it, and I live to tell the tale.
You're still here hanging out with us and getting baked. Fucking great.
Yeah. We're having a good time.
So, like, the reason we're doing, we wanted to talk about feminizing autoflowers is because it is so specific. When you talk about, doing photo periods, you can have that mom and you can know exactly what it is, and you can try to fem it out 10 times and perfect it. But with autoflowers, dude, it's like, and there's a lot of different information out there. That was all fantastic. But yeah,
and photo periods, you have the option to flip it right when you're ready. You can start spraying it for a couple rounds, a few days, and then flip and you'll get a nice full, expression as a male, basically. It seems too easy, all you photo period breeders. Nah, I'm just kidding.
We like little digs here and there, and this little ball busting is the best.
It's I think both of them are kind of like I almost see it as like a ladder now, where like an autoflower community has to pull those reversals from the photo community, and that's like the working, because that's what people want. People want the feminized autoflowers that they can throw a few seeds out and they can get pretty consistent, flavors and sizes and results. And they want rarity. They want something they can say, hey, I might have the last few seeds of this ever. That's a pretty fun thing to have. So what does your garden look like? Do you have only autos going then, or do you keep some photo moms to the side? I know you said you're doing that one reversal.
So yeah, no, that was years ago, that attempted reversal. But I have
Gotcha.
5 tents. I have a big 5x5. I've got 2 2x4s and 2 3x3s. And they're in this. They're in a relatively close range. The 2 3x3s are separated into a second room, and the 2 2x4s and the 5x5 are all in the main room. And I've got a shelf with all. I'm an organics guy. I've mainly used soil and Nature's Living Autoflower. Excuse me, sorry, I'm a little baked. Nature's Living Soil Autoflower concentrate. I've used that a lot in the past. Lately, I've been trying to make a lot of my own inputs, kind of like Korean natural farming and jadam style. I make.
Wait. What was that word? Say it again.
Jadam. Jadam.
What is it?
It's the.
So it's not praying mantis style. What I'm known for.
Nah.
Bear claw style.
Jadam is
Tell me about it. I gotta know. What,
it's like a method
style.
Yeah, I mean, it's been around, but it's a methodology that comes from actually the son of the guy that created Korean natural farming, and it's another one. Jadam is the Korean word that basically means that we follow the path and do as nature would do, and it's about creating.
This is the way.
Yeah.
This is the way.
It's basically about creating anaerobic nutrients, and I was just listening to a podcast on this earlier today, actually, and you're creating anaerobic microbes essentially as it would naturally deep in the soil where there's not a lot of oxygen available, and you essentially just take any vegetating plant or fruit or something that still has some nutrients left, and you can basically throw it all in a big bin, cover it with water, and you let it sit and ferment for a long time. And it's going to smell pretty stinky, but it's basically breaking down. And the longer it sits, the more concentrated and the more nutrients you're pulling out of it and these microbes. But it's just a very natural, simple methods that you can basically make all your own inputs at home. But I haven't tried any of those specifically. I've been more making labs, which is essentially culturing lactobacillus with milk. And
very good yeast. Yeah, that lactobacillus is a very good yeast.
It's everywhere. Yeah, it is a good one. It's on our bodies.
That's how they fermented beer. Open back in the fucking early days. That's how they fermented beer. They would leave open vats of beer, and the way they would ferment it was the lactobacillus floating through the air. It's a good metachlorian. It's in your body. It's good for you. Sorry, I'm really baked. That GG4 got me good, Earl.
Nice.
I love it.
No, but then you just mix that with molasses, and you have a nice, microbial solution and a little homemade microbes you can add. But it's methods like these. I've just been doing simple ones. I've made water soluble calcium with eggshells and vinegar and things like that is what I've been doing more.
I love it. No, I love it, man. I need to come and fucking hang out with you for like a month and learn. So one day when I go off to the sunset and live off the grid, I need to learn some more of this stuff. Go ahead, Earl. Sorry.
So I didn't realize that was the name for it. So over this last winter, I took down some plants, and they were just vigorous, and they were males, and I was like, you know what? I think it was. I read it called plant juice or something. It was something goofy.
Yeah,
and I didn't have like an official name.
There's a lot of acronyms involved.
Yeah, and so I was like, I'm just gonna steep this in water over winter. I did it in a 5-gallon bucket, and I put it in my garden. I didn't put any food in my garden outside this year, so we'll see how it goes. But that's I'm definitely gonna. I like that. That's the actual name for it, because I've always I call it plant juice. I've talked to people about it, and I feel kind of stupid when I call it that.
Yeah, I did one last year of just like pumpkin and pumpkin seeds with basically just mixed with molasses and my lactobacillus culture and just let it ferment. and it was good for flowering. You know, I just take a little milliliter per gallon of this little liquid I've fermented and mix it in my water and just water my soil with that. And you know, that's been my methods for the last year or so. But I still use Nature's Living Soil Autoflower concentrate as my kind of base mix in my soil.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, organic is when you can dial in organic. It's hard for me at least.
Yeah, it is. It's fucking hard. It's hard.
Every little thing changes everything, and like.
But it's a different grow. Earl, you were over the house yesterday. So I run organics now. This is my fourth grow organics. The first two, I got good weed, but I saw the difference in the maybe I didn't get the biggest buds in the world, but I saw a real difference in the fucking trichomes versus growing non. And then you were over the house yesterday. You saw and I sent you pictures last night at a dark shop. Way different of an experience. I'm getting a little bit better at each grows, but holy fuck, man, the terps that you fucking see on these fucking buds are just insane. Yeah. It's just a difference. It's a different high, different experience, but it took me to a different level. I'm still trying to get better at it, but it's a way different high. I don't care what anybody fucking says. I'll argue it all day long. And the buds are fluff. They're fucking. They're fragrant. My whole house reeks, and I love it. I just walk into a fucking boatload of weed when I come in my house. I don't give a fuck. My house. That's the fragrance you smell. You don't fucking smell sage. You don't fucking smell this. You walk in my house and you just fucking straight fucking just in your face, knock you out. I don't give a fuck. Come in I'm Weedman. I don't give a fuck. Nice. You're gonna smell it when you go over the fucking house. I ain't shit. So, but growing organic is a fucking different world. If I can learn to get better and do some composting and doing some teas too, that's just gonna be. I can't wait for that day. So, but I agree, 100%. Sorry, and I'm stoned out of my mind. So
you're right. It's hard. I don't do full organic because I call it synthganic. I don't know if that's the real name for it or not. I can't remember where I heard that, but I pretty much just I try to break down all my organics and then feed it, knowing that my salts are pretty high, and it's gonna kill my organics when it goes in there, kind of thing. But I think you can't get anything better on flavor. I think it definitely adds like a big cushion having the organic there. If you're just running salts, being able to like kind of balance on the organic is huge.
I found that the organics allow too, and it works great with autoflowers because they already sort of lean this way, but less is more. And, you know, they don't require a ton, especially when you're using these like concentrated inputs that you've made or these little ferments. You know, like I said, I put like a milliliter per gallon of this stuff. It's a small amount of just like a little homemade ferment of pumpkin, you know, but it provides what they need, you know, especially if you already have a working base. You know, I'm just trying to like add little boosters here or there that are, you know, already fermented or already in some way water soluble that they're going to absorb pretty easily.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's about breaking down the food, right? I mean, that's everything you had is just break down the organic food in there. Exactly. Yeah, I love it, dude. It's such a cool time to be able to, like, they're just learning a lot of this stuff, and it's super like weed based. I feel like because it's a cash crop, and they've had it around for a while, you know. But it's just now being something, at least for me, and maybe I'm showing my ignorance, but it's seeming like it's just now really catching on. A lot of this stuff where people are like, "Holy shit, I don't actually have to buy $5,000 worth of food. I can ferment this, and I can take this that I'm just throwing away anyway." And it's super fun. So on feminizing, what's something that you learned the hard way? I think you talked about, other than the photo period, was there an auto fem?
I botched a whole round on that dog walker project.
Damn Nami Nugs.
Timing was a big thing that took to learn. Was just I botched an entire run because I missed the timing. I didn't have viable pollen. I've probably like accidentally mismeasured my colloidal silver or silver nitrate, or I didn't measure the ratio right. I mixed 9 parts of water to 2 parts of the STS base or something. I completely burned a plant one time. So yeah, there's a few. I tried to mention them earlier. The couple mistakes I've made. It was mostly timing. There was one that I was kind of like disappointed where I only had one last seed. This was Zamodelica Express from Night Owl, and this was before he re-released it this past year. So I now have more seeds of it. So no big deal anymore. But the first time around, I only had one last seed, and there was who knows when if or when it was going to come out again. And I missed the timing window. I had like reversed one of them, and the other was going to be the mom, and so I just missed it and didn't make a single seed. Because I started them at the same time, where these days I start my reversals, and I'll actually start more than one. Because you don't know at day 15 which is going to be your winner, really. So I'll choose probably like the 4 to 6 most vigorous at day 15, because that's all I really know that much at that point. I might do a little stem rubbing. I started the seeds at the same time, whereas these days I start seeds like 2 weeks ahead of time before I start my mothers. So that by the time it takes longer than regular seeds when you're feminizing, it takes longer to actually get the viable pollen. So if you start your mothers at the same time as your reversals, you're kind of miss the primary window where you want to be pollinating them. So it's good to start it a couple weeks ahead of time. I was also talking about how I typically start more than one reversal. I usually do somewhere like 4 to 6, because I'm not sure at the moment which one's going to be the best. But I really have another 4 or 5 more weeks before I'm really having to select and call the others. So I get a lot more information about which one's going to be the winner and the pollen donor for that generation.
Yeah. Is something that was super interesting to me, because when I first started Autoflowers, the timing was really hard for me. Just to grow them, I was used to basically running a pretty like root-bound plant and having like really fast, clean transplants. And when it came to autos, when I let them get root-bound, they were dying on me. I didn't realize that was why. And then I started going into the same pot I was finishing in and reading theories, though, from other people that say, well, no, if you elevate them up pots, that's how you get these monsters and all this and all that. What is something you see people doing that where you're like, oh, I think that's a mistake? They don't realize that they're doing this wrong for an auto. Because to me, the biggest part with an auto is there's no veg. Like, it's going when it's going. So if you make a little mistake early, it can echo. Is there something you see a lot where you're like, ooh, if you did this, I think that would help a lot?
Yeah, definitely. I see a lot of stunted plants, my own genetics as well. It happens. And you're right. There isn't a very long veg period. By day 20 to 30, sometimes even a couple days before day 20, I've seen flowering start as early as like day 16. So you have a very short window. You're looking at somewhere between, 2, really more like 3 to 4 weeks, and you're gonna have some flowers start to forming. And when it starts flowering, you're gonna stretch, you're gonna get a little height. But if in that first 2 or 3 weeks you've stressed the plant by either you've given them too many nutrients, less is more, definitely in those first couple weeks, they'll do better with like starving a little bit than they will with excess nutrients. 2, maybe the light was too strong, can be one. The pot was too small, or you tried to transplant it and you were maybe a little rough and maybe damaged the taproot or something, or just stressed it in some way during the transplant. High or low temperatures, if you're way outside of the typical VPD parameters. I've I've seen a lot, like in the winter, people will start autos and their grow room will be ice cold and their plants will get stunted, and that's usually a reason why, you know. But yeah, stunting is mostly what the big error I see, and it just comes from stress, like some heavy stressor in those first few weeks. So yeah, less nutrients, medium to low lighting, and you know, keep just a nice as well balanced environment. Research VPD, your vapor pressure deficit, and you'll be fine. You'll grow some monsters.
Yeah. What about outdoor?
Outdoor is different. You obviously have less control, you know. So timing, technically you can grow an auto any time of year. I mean, it might die in the frost or depending on how intense your environment is in the winter, but generally speaking, you can grow, you know, plant after plant after plant, even outdoors, but certain times of year when you're getting the most light, like right about now, in late June, is really a great time for autos to be in flower, when they need the most light. So if you were to try to do an outdoor run, you know, or even two, I would probably do one where I start in, you know, like April. Maybe then I start another in May, and then I start another in June, and then I've got, you know, a harvest in, you know, the April one is April, May, June, and late June I'm harvesting, and the next one will be July, and then the next one will be August. In theory, you could even do a couple more and get into September. But you'll probably see slightly different, you know, density in the buds and maybe slightly different sizes in those different plantings because of how much light it was getting. Autos love light. That they can take up to 24 hours, but really they like a couple hours of dark too. 18 to 20 is kind of ideal.
Yeah, because I'm running autos outside right now. I got 3 outside, and one's a male that I pushed over and just popping the balls off as they go because I'm going to pollinate one of the buds, and I got 2 females. They're small. They're probably like 2 feet tall, and they're already getting some nice fucking buds on them. And they're probably 30 days in. 30 days in, I think it is. So they're looking pretty, though. Big Earl, you saw them yesterday. You got a good little sour smell to them, right?
Yeah. They look delicious to me.
Yeah, that I didn't have a tall growth, but I understand now. I understand you taught me a lot today, so I appreciate that, about doing autos outdoors. But yeah, and the run though is pretty cool. So, but go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say that was another thing we were talking about indoors is just how you can do a similar style perpetual grow. And basically with autos, since you don't have to change the life cycle between veg and flowering. So in theory, you can start one plant, you know, in month 1, a month later, you start plant number 2, and then a month later, you start plant number 3. And then each month, 90 days later, more or less, you know, they range between 75, 95 days or so, depending, sometimes a little sooner, sometimes a little later, but you can essentially every 3rd month, or every month, just harvest one plant, and then you harvest that one and you plant a new one, and you can just be harvesting one plant every month if you're just a home grower looking to produce your own meds or your own head stash or whatever.
Yeah,
sweet. I love it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Two tree. Give us 2 or 3 mistakes you see people when they grow autoflowers. 2 tree. That's it.
2 or 3. Well, I hit the one. I'd say, you know, heavy stressor in the first 2 weeks, whether it be temperature or heavy nutrients or the lighting maybe is a little too intense. I think I'm in the camp that topping autos is fine, but there is a little window where you need to top it, and somewhere where before it hits flower, because that is another reason you can cause stunting. I think it's good to top it in, you know, week 2-ish, maybe around day 14. Those are a couple of the main mistakes I could see in just stressing it and resulting in a stunted plant, but they can be forgiving.
Sweet. I'm excited about doing this grow right now. I've learned a lot from this show that's going to help me on the next one. So I appreciate all the education today, man. I actually fucking learned a lot. And as baked as I am right now, dude, I can't wait to re-listen to this episode because all the knowledge and education you just threw out there, man, that was in an hour. That's pretty big, man. I appreciate Alebrije coming on the show and everything. Give yourself a fucking plug, man. Tell us where everybody can find you at, websites, when your next breed is going to be out, and go ahead, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Had a great time. Yeah, you can find us on Instagram at alebrije.genetics. And we have another medical line. It's miracle_plant_genetics. Those are our mixed ratios with CBD and THC, and we've got some CBG in the works.
Fucking love you. Finally, a breeder that's listened to my show. You must have listened to my show because Big Earl, I've said that so many times. I need someone to make me all of the cannabinoids, all of them in a strain, because all of them have benefits. All of them have love. I love THC to death, but I also love CBN. I love CBG. I love CBD. I love THCV. I like them all. And some of them I know you can't do together, but remember we've had this conversation, Earl, like 4 years ago. I came to your house and we hung out, and I said, if someone can create a strain that has the cannabinoids in there that people want, game over. Game motherfucking over. It's over. It's over.
Yeah.
So Alebrije, dude.
That's what our goal with Miracle Plant Genetics. I guess we'll have to come back and talk about it more another time, but
burp in the bag, baby. Burp in the bag.
It's essentially our mixed ratio project, so more of a focus on that and less on the art. It's more medicinally focused, and we're trying to get community feedback so we can sort of dial in our strains and sort of make what's working for people, So. Thank you, sir. And then if you find our main Instagram page or alebrijegenetics.com, you can find our other pages, Alebrije Coffee and Alebrije Ceramics. They're all tagged in the bio there.
Man.
Dude. And our next drop is coming up on August 1st at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah. We'll be releasing the Dazed Sabrana, which is our zebra frog. And it's got Malawi Northern Lights crossed with that some of that purple microdot and purple nuggets all together. It's a very Malawi-leaning, heady, daisy, creative strain going on. And then our other one is the collab with Hummingbird. It's called the Coli Breno Funk, and it's the deer hummingbird is our creature. And it's his Gouda crossed with our dog walker, and it's all about gas and funk, and it's very sedative. We've been using it a lot at bedtime lately.
That's home team right there. South Side right there. He's a South Side scumbag like me. I love him. We're all, if you're from the South Side of Chicago, you're a scumbag. So I love him to death. He's the best. He's the best. So anybody
shout out Hummingbird.
Hummingbird, baby. Anybody that grew in the Dan Wine Woods, you're all right by me. I love it. I fucking love it. Man, thanks for coming on the show, Alebrije. It's an honor, man, to learn and get educated and just taking your time out to talk to the world, I guess, man. Right, Big Earl?
Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you, dude. Super fun. Learned a lot.
Got anything else to tell the world? Big Earl, you got to say? That's it.
Listen to the Weedman Chronicles, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother. Thank you.
And don't forget your cow mag. You need the cow mag, guys.
Everybody, don't forget the cow mag. Peace. Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.